In the Old Testament, we're told of two prophets, Elijah and Elisha. Both prophets were used by God to call Israel away from their behavior that displeased the Lord, and both were regarded highly amongst Israel following their ministries. Elijah was the first of these two prophets. Elijah's name means, "My God is the Lord," and his ministry was spent proving his name true. Elijah's ministry was marked by confidence in God, showing the Israelites that Yahweh was the true God. He called the people to turn away from the false gods that they served. The Bible tells us that there were times that Elijah was afraid and he ran for his life, but the Lord was always with him, and Elijah was able to carry out all that God had planned for his life. Elijah's impact on Israel's history was great. Even John the Baptist in the New Testament was prophesied to go before the Lord in the spirit and the power of Elijah. Elisha was a prophet that succeeded Elijah. Elijah took Elisha under his care, and it's evident to us in 2 Kings that Elisha grows to hold Elijah close to his heart. In Kings 2, Elijah tells Elisha to leave him 3 times, and 3 times Elisha gives the same response: "As surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you." When it's time for Elijah to be brought home by God, he asks Elisha, "Tell me, what can I do for you before I am taken away from you?" Elisha responds, "Let me inherit a double portion of your spirit." This is a bold request on Elisha's part. Elijah had a ministry characterized by supernatural miracles from the Lord. Elijah even tells him, "You have asked a hard thing. Yet if you see me as I am being taken away from you, it shall be so for you. But if you do not see me, it shall not be so." Elisha is there to witness God bringing Elijah home, and so the Lord granted his request to have a double portion of what Elijah had. Scripture tells us that Elisha performed twice as many miracles as his predecessor. We can also see parallels in the kinds of miracles and how often the Lord used each prophet to perform them. In 1 Kings 17, Elijah is told to stay at the house with a widow and her son. When he first meets the widow, he is collecting sticks for her and her son to eat and then pass away. The Israelites were experiencing a drought that Elijah had prophesied about, so there was little food. Even though the widow tells Elijah that her and her son are preparing to die, he tells her to not be afraid and to use the little food that she had to make some bread for the prophet. She does as told, and because of this, the Lord provides the 3 with food throughout this drought. Elijah stays at the woman's house, and during Elijah's stay, the widow's son becomes ill and dies. She confronts Elijah, saying, "What do you have against me, man of God? Did you come to remind me of my sin and kill my son?" Elijah instructs her to give him the deceased boy, and he cries out, saying, "Lord, my God, let this boy's life return to him." God does as Elijah asks and brings the boy back to life. We see a similar occurrence during Elisha's ministry. In 2 Kings 4, Elisha stays with a family of a Shunammite woman and prophesies to her that she will have a son, and this comes true. However, a few years pass by, and one day the boy goes to complain to his father about his head hurting. The boy is taken to his mother and passes away in his mother's lap. The Shunammite woman seeks out Elisha and says, "Did I ask my Lord for a son? Did I not say, 'Do not deceive me'?" Elisha goes back to the Shunammite woman's house and prays that the Lord restores life to the boy, which he does. Following the stories of both prophets up until this point, each had been used by God to perform the miracle of resurrection one time. If we keep reading, we come to the end of Elisha's life in 2 Kings chapter 13. Every spring, Moabite raiders would enter the country, and one year, the raiders were near Elisha's tomb, while a group of Israelites were there burying another man. When this group of men saw the raiders, they threw the man's body into Elisha's tomb. When the man's body touches Elisha's bones, the man is brought back to life. And here we see the second time Elisha is used to bring life back to the dead. Even in his death, God keeps his promise of giving Elisha twice of Elijah's spirit. To Elijah and to us, Elisha's request for a double portion seemed difficult or maybe too much to ask for, but nothing is too much for our God.